As one of our players always said, "What could possibly go wrong?"
So we're going to be, for chat, using the Fantasy Network channel on the ZOE Discord.
Okay. All right. I will pull that up.
John, could you tilt your camera down a little bit? Fantastic, that's much better.
I'm just as ugly.
Yeah, but now we can see your face, and it's much better than looking at the ceiling.
Alright.
Test, test, test. Okay, that's good.
Audio's good. Yep. Okay, which channel did you say on your Zoe server?
It's in the Fantasy Network shows, hashtag the Fantasy Network.
Okay.
Did Danielle get the message to switch over?
I sent it to her. Danielle? Danielle? So hopefully she's trying to connect.
There we go. Hi, Danielle.
Hello.
You have a small sun behind you.
I do. Guess I'm gonna have to face the other direction.
And can you set it on something so it's not constantly moving?
Yes.
Good.
Here, let me move places so that I'm under the sun instead of in.
Right.
So, the one challenge I think we're going to run into today is anytime I'm doing screen sharing,
Yeah.
it just may take me a moment to pull up. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that it would be better for me to screen share with you via Chrome than to share from. You know what? I'll just set it up now.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you see that?
It says coming up, Ben Dobbins is presenting. That just went away.
I see it.
Yes, I see it. Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So I'll just change that sheet as necessary.
Great.
Hawk, I think we just lost your camera.
Really?
Oh, there you are.
Yep.
Okay.
It's staring me in the face.
Okay. I know you've done plenty of live streaming and are well aware of the complexities.
Yes, the joys and trials and tribulations.
Right. So my plan, I'm going to start off with the starting soon stream.
Okay, yep, pre-streaming, yep, to get people together.
I'll do an introduction, I'll talk a little bit about all of you. You'll be muted at that point, and your video will not be on screen, and then it will be very clear when I am bringing you on screen.
Great.
At that point, we'll talk about the problem, we'll talk about your goals, we'll talk about your core mission, and then we'll start digging into what kinds of solutions and what is one thing we can come up with that will help kind of get you toward your next step. And
right.
Hopefully, we'll be able to come up with something. I know I'm guessing based on our conversations before that there's a whole lot that we can accomplish.
Oh yeah. And
So I'm not too worried about that part.
and we have more and more resources than we did last time. So
Fantastic. And then at the end of the call, I'll ask you to kind of promote what you're doing, tell people where they can find you, all that good stuff.
great.
I need just one moment.
Mm-hmm. John, I had the interview with Irvin and sent him the offer, and we're just waiting for his reply.
Yeah, I got that email.
Okay. I had another person who was scheduled for the interview, but she backed out at the last minute. Yeah, we hear you. Test. We hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just checking,
Yep.
Adjusting my audio mixer here.
Yep.
Okay. Test. La 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 la. Okay. La 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 la. Great. Yeah. So I love how Google hijacks my various devices.
Yes. Yeah.
We know what that is.
We've been it's mixed, but we've been using Jitsi for the most part now because at least we can control it. It's all open source and configurable and run on our own servers and what have you. So at least you can have a little bit of control over it. Unlike and I wouldn't be surprised if Google gets rid of Hangouts since they're killing off Plus and such. They've already pared back what Hangout can do so much. Unless they figure out a way to monetize it.
Ad revenue's not enough.
Well, yeah. Onward and upward. Just
I'm gonna start streaming a couple minutes early here.
Yep. Let the people gather.
Make sure that it's actually working.
Yep. And is this on the Zombie Orpheus
Am I
channel?
on the-
No, it's on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it on the Zombie Orpheus channel on Twitch or is it something else?
No, this is on the Fantasy Network.
Oh, on the web. Okay.
Yeah. We're doing this as a Patreon subscriber exclusive, especially in case anything goes wrong.
Right.
I'll be right back in a second.
Hurry, Danielle.
I'm getting feedback from one of you.
Yeah. Is that you, John?
I can mute my thing. If it is me, I don't know.
Yeah. If you're not talking, mute. Just remember to unmute when you're talking.
Don't pull on me.
You might want to mute yours as well, Danielle. When you're not talking, just remember to turn it on. The Fantasy Network Seminar Series starting soon.
As far as I can tell, we are live.
Yeah, I'm on a different network with my laptop, and I see it streaming. I see your little gold sign there.
That's good. Great. Alright, I'm going to let people know on Discord.
Okay. Danielle, please mute your mic when you're not speaking.
Okay. I believe we are just about ready. Get all my windows up. All right, hello everybody. We are live on the Fantasy Network in the first of a series of workshops and seminars on topics crowdfunding and audience building and essentially all the things that we've done at Zombie Orpheus and the Fantasy Network and with our partners and with everyone else in order to create, all right, hello everybody, content that is supported 100% by you, the fans. As you know, our motto for years has been we are fan supported and creator distributed. I'm very excited to be here right now. We are currently streaming exclusively to our Patreon supporters and our Fantasy Network subscribers. And if you would like to participate in the conversation, we'd love to hear your voices. So, first of all, what you want to do is, let me just pop this off. And I've lost my Chrome browser. Hooray! Okay, so what you want to do is go to zombieorpheus.com and you're going to see a tab at the very top that says Community. You mouse over that, it's going to drop down and say Discord channel. So go from there, it'll give you an invite straight into the Zombie Orpheus TFN Dead Gentleman Discord server where you'll be able to find a channel called #TheFantasyNetwork. Join us in there, leave your comments, we'd love to hear from you. With that, I would love to introduce as well our guest for today. So, RPG research, Hawk Robinson and his team have been doing extraordinary work for years, building not only research, but awareness and service for how role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games, can be more than just something that you do with your friends around the table, that they can be a tool for healing, that they can be a tool for therapy, and they have taken all of their academic research and gone on the road around the country. They have published an extraordinary amount of material, and today we want to work with them on some of the problems that they're facing, scaling up, doing more. And Hawk will come in along with the rest in a minute and be able to kind of help correct where I haven't done it, where I haven't been totally clear, or where I got something wrong, because that happens. So, but before I bring them in, I want to share a little bit about the problems that they shared with me so that we can have some context for this conversation. So, problem number one is that in the past 2 years, RPG research has seen a rapid decline in being mentioned by media, requests for interviews, or invitations to conventions. Now, they were on a rapid rise from 2004 through 2016 when Hawk was doing the majority of the work as himself. However, since incorporating as a 501c3 organization, he feels like they've lost media interest and far fewer interview and convention speaking opportunities. So we want to talk about what might be happening there and what some strategic options might be to fix that. The other topic is very connected to this, and it's why I'm sharing both of them. It's what can they do to generate more support from the crowd, like, for example, growing their Patreon base. They get enthusiastic mentions, have a growing body of volunteers, and this number is impressive. 2 years ago, they had 6 volunteers. Now they have 54 people around the world who are participating in this mission. But they found that they're struggling to convert that emotional support and that volunteering support and the excitement about their mission into financial support, which they need in order to serve their community. So I'm going to stick my earpiece in now. I'm going to invite Hawk and the rest of the team in to introduce themselves, and we are going to have a 1-hour workshop where we dive in and figure out what's going on and see what can be done to get us to where they want to be. So I'm bringing in our audio now, and I'm excited to introduce you to Hawk Robinson.
Hello, thank you, Ben. That was an excellent introduction. You covered that quite well.
Awesome. Well, could you start by, I know I've said your name a half dozen times already, but introducing yourself and the rest of the people who we have here joining us on this call.
You bet. So my name's Hawk Robinson. I am founder of RPG Research. Previously, I was at the RPG Research Project before we incorporated. I've been involved with role-playing games since the mid to late 70s. I started my first research project on the effects of role-playing games in '83 in response to the beginning backlash against gamers and gaming. By '85, I was teaching role-playing games as a class 5 days a week at a high school for gifted and talented children, not as final period. It was actually a class. It wasn't after school. And then over the years, used role-playing games in educational settings. Then in 2004, really started to focus on the research and therapeutic potential of role-playing games and set up the website rpgresearch.com as a repository of all the research I could find and anybody else's insights, and trying to build a community, because at the time there were maybe 40 or 50 research studies and most of them were just trying to disprove the negatives of the 80s and 90s. But there were really good indicators of some potential there back in 2004. And so I'm very much an open source advocate, and the sharing, an open free use of information, helping to raise up mankind, help us have the optimal experience as human beings. And so that really improved from 2004 to 2016. It just kept booming, published a number of essays, kept getting invited to speak at professional panels and fandom panels and interviews, etc. And really it was just coming along. And it was initially me working with many different people, but RPG Research was basically just me. And then it was becoming so overwhelming, it finally, and people were starting to offer to help. John Welker, who's now vice president, came on board in 2016 as volunteer number 2. If I'm number 1, he's number 2. And then not long after, some months later, Danielle came on board. She has an extensive background in card games and board games, but hadn't previously been into tabletop role-playing games, and has trained as a game master. And so anyway, I'll let them talk about themselves a little bit more. But now, yeah, you're right. We went from 2 years ago, volunteer number 6, to we just added volunteer number 54 today. And that's going really well, overwhelmingly so. We're having trouble keeping up with that. About half our people are scattered across 4 continents and many different time zones, so that has its own challenges. But John, do you want to, or Ben, if you want to handle that next?
No, please, John, we'd love to hear how you came on board and what your perspective is.
John Welker, Vice President of RPG Research. I came on board in 2016 formerly as the first volunteer outside of Hawk. Met Hawk when I talked him into coming to Worldcon in 2015 to do some panels.
Excellent.
Well, and your background, John. Give him your background.
Okay. Let's see. I have been role-playing since 79, so this is my 40th year as a Dungeon Master. I have been working at conventions for many years, organizing conventions. I organized a gaming department for Worldcon in 2015. I was a Wizards of the Coast delegate. Basically customer service that didn't wait for a phone call. I'd go to the store, see how they're doing, do demos of all their games and things like that. I started an organization called Spokane Area Gaming Alliance just to get people to volunteer to run games at convention stores and nonprofits and stuff like that. Working on my CTRS, Certified Recreational Therapy. I'm registered right now, but I'm trying to go up to the higher degree.
Awesome, thank you.
Danielle.
I believe we also have Danielle on the line.
Yeah, so I'm Danielle Whitworth, and hey, there's this neat thing that one of my old students, Hawk Robinson, has been doing, and I think you'd really like it because you like to game. And at the time, I was mainly, well, my tabletop is like board and card games, but that's what I did a lot of. I saw what he was doing and how he was using it, and I saw the faults in the gaming that I was mostly doing, which was Magic the Gathering at the time, and thought, man, this is really useful. And I picked up the character sheet, started playing. Within 6 months, I was GMing, and I've never looked back. It's been a lot of fun and hard at times, but it really pushes you to, like, I've really been pushed to be a better game master for the therapeutic intent.
And you just finished all your requirements for your degree and your internship.
Yep, I just finished my internship and my degree. I did it at Pierce County, and I've been back for about 5 months.
And also, at the beginning, her audio was kind of cutting out, but she was saying that Professor Emily Messina at East Washington University had referred her to talk to me because I had been one of Emily's students. And Professor Messina is now on our board as of last year, which was a great addition.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, do we have another person in here as well?
It looks like Brooke. Yes, it looks like Brooke did join us. Brooke is our volunteer coordinator and vice chair, and has tried to help with the fundraising and marketing side. We met her through the Muscular Dystrophy Association summer camps. Brooke, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to work really late. My name is Brooke Leslie. I met Hawk I invited them to come out and do a program for our MGA summer camp, and they put on a program live action as well as an adventure, and then tabletop role playing for kids with muscular dystrophy.
And we were lucky enough to snag her away from the MDA later on, and we've been very fortunate to have her on board helping us in so many areas.
Awesome. So, RPG research, I know I gave you an introduction, and it sounds like you have a whole lot going on. You have always volunteers, and you also have physical infrastructure. You're running regular shows on Twitch, and then of course you have the RPG trailer and an RPG bus at this point as well.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit kind of about. I'd love to get a broad sense about each of your mission categories. You know, what is the role of the live Twitch show within the broader mission? What makes what you do there important?
Okay. And yeah, just to sum up our infrastructure. So we have an office downtown on Monroe Street in Spokane that we use lightly for meeting with clients and things like that. A lot of what we run is, like, the studio here is in my garage. I converted my garage into the broadcast studio. That's what you see around me here. So we do a lot of our training and our broadcasts here, though we do have some mobile broadcast equipment that we do because, and you saw in October and September my adventures there across 8 states. We take the wheelchair accessible RPG bus prototype and the wheelchair accessible RPG trailer prototype around trying to raise awareness about accessibility and inclusiveness issues in the gaming community, and trying to make it as inclusive as possible. And so that's kind of our infrastructure there. We stream 5 or 6 times a week. One of them's a talk show, which just kind of sums up the news of what's going on in the industry and the community, as well as some of our news. And we try to have special guests on there related to people trying to figure out the best use of role-playing games to help improve people's lives. We don't generally talk about the latest module or the latest whiz-bang feature unless it's related to using role-playing games to help with education or therapy or better quality of life for different populations. some of our other shows are pretty much our training. So we train our volunteers constantly so that they're ready to help with either on the research side or our community programs. And we run community programs on Fridays. We call it Drop In and RPG. And those are open to the public. We do that at different locations, at community centers, at libraries, and with the bus and trailer, depending upon which Friday of the month it is. And it's to try to introduce new people to the joys of role-playing gaming. And typically what happens is we set up a new place. It's all new people at first. Over time, they start to become regulars, and then we kind of have about half regulars and half new people every week at these different locations. But it's, as much outreach as possible to show people the joys of role-playing. We do involve a little bit on a side note, drum circles and live action role playing as well when the weather permits. So we set up at parks for those. The rest of the time it's often a tabletop. We've done some work with the computer based, like Neverwinter Nights and virtual reality and other things, because we can write our own modules to help target specific users' needs. So we had all these different things going on. The Twitch channel, as I said, we're trying to share the training with everybody else because I'm a big open source advocate. So we're doing the training anyway, and we just kind of go ahead and stream it with the audience. On Sundays is when we're actually trying to raise fundraising and such with our Heroes of the Mist, which is a live action actual play tabletop. And what we're trying to do with that is show tabletop role playing as it normally is, rather than with voice actors or with computer-based aids like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20. This is hopefully a close representation of you playing with either strangers or friends in a game room with battle mats and miniatures and a whiteboard and your books and with average folks just enjoying a game and having a good time in an ongoing campaign. So it's AD&D First Edition in a homebrew multiverse setting, and we've been doing that since June. And part of the fundraising aspect is the audience hanging out in Twitch automatically gains what we call hero points. And as they accumulate those hero points, they can go to the website, and there's a catalog of what they can spend those hero points on. And those hero points can be spent to have things happen to the player characters in the adventure almost real time. So they'll spend like 500 hero points or 1,000 hero points, and an NPC will show up, or an animal will show up, or an earthquake will happen, whatever. Obviously the more impact, the more points. And sometimes the audience members do it to just make mischief and life more difficult for the PCs. But often lately, the audience members have been trying to help the PCs. We had one PC who was about to get eaten by a 6-legged giant panther. And so they spent a bunch of points to have a deer dart in front of it because we stopped on a cliffhanger. And then they donated that, so we had a deer dart in front of it to make it go chase the deer and save the PC's life. So a lot of different examples there. Also, we try to, from time to time, have a real-time artist sketching the scenes as they're happening, because there are some people, a lot of people don't know this, that have a disorder called aphantasia, and that's the inability to visualize from verbal descriptions. So if I say to you, visualize a 10 by 10 room with a wooden oaken door, and et cetera, you can visualize that in your head, but there's a certain percentage of the population that cannot visualize that. They need visual aids to help them have a better experience, whether they're playing the game or just listening or watching a game. So we try to incorporate that when we can with a real-time sketch artist, which artists come and go. So that has been a challenge. We do all this for free, but what we try to get people to do is if they want extra hero points, because it's a slow accumulation over time, they can donate, or if they're Patreon supporters, every month they get a big bushel of hero points that they can spend each month. And then our moderators do it. And then I try to incorporate that into the game almost immediately once the moderators tell me. So that's been our main fundraising part there, and it's been mixed. We've had some good days and lacking days on that. We got psyched out on was it Saturday, Danielle, with the Call of Cthulhu box opening?
Yes, it was Saturday.
Yeah, so Saturday we did a box opening of the new Call of Cthulhu 7th edition starter set, and we had like 44 viewers, which for us were like, woo, we got a whole bunch of viewers. And then all of a sudden they dropped shortly after we started, and I was like, what did I do? What did I say? Everybody left. And it turns out you had been hosting our channel, and we had your viewers, and then you guys went live a little late, and then as soon as you went live, everybody went, switch. So we got a little taste of what you guys get with, having a nice audience, and we drop back to our low numbers.
New season Death from Above.
Yeah.
Which people have been waiting for
Right.
for a year.
Exactly.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. So, as you've been talking about this, I've had up on the screen your web page. So I've kind of taken us through each section of the web page as you talk about those areas.
Mm-hmm.
We've looked at the Patreon. I played the video that circles around the RPG bus and
Yep.
the RPG trailer.
Cool.
Again, for all those people who may have difficulties hearing something and then turning that into visual, we provided those assets and resources. So, is there anything else that you want to share about your core mission before we start diving into some of the problems that you're experiencing?
So my number one goal has been to try to build community. And I've done this in other avenues, and it was really going well, as I said, till about 2016 as well. People were engaging in the website, they were sharing their experiences, and then all of a sudden people started to break off into their own silos. So these were other professionals that were starting to do role-playing gaming and such in their field. And we went through some technical issues. We had a hosting provider who the entire colo got shut down because of Spammergate. You can look up Spammergate, and that gave us a real headache. I had to run the servers in my house for quite a while, and we're still recovering from that. But no, first and foremost is about building community and awareness about the research and the potential of role-playing games to improve lives. So that's just by far number one. We want to help share, collaborate, and use role-playing games to improve lives.
Okay. And I noticed that you have a phrase, almost exactly that same phrase, on your Patreon campaign. RPG Research is creating non-profit research and services improving quality of life.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So, I think I'd like to start there, because
Yeah.
clarity of mission, you clearly have a massive amount of research and experience backing up what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Years and years and years, and the interactions that your volunteers are making and that you're making with the people who you're serving, I think as well, have been hugely beneficial for everyone, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, what is a typical response that you get from someone who participates in RPGs as a life-improving experience through your system?
We have had really dramatic. So, for example, at our community programs, we've had these kids coming off the street. They're street tough. They got all the closed body language, but they're like they've never been in the center before, and they're kind of checking things out, and they're a really strong street attitude. And they're like, well, all right, we'll try this, but really hesitant and acting very tough. And within 45 minutes, they're getting into it. And we've had, I'll give you one anecdote that I love to give that was fairly recently. Danielle was there for that. We had these two kids sit down who did not know each other. We were using Adventures in Middle-earth, and it's the first time they ever role-played, first time they'd been at Spark Central, any of that, community center. And so we sat down, introduced to it. We explained to them that this is heroic play. You don't play evil characters here. If you do evil things, bad things happen to your character. You pull a Boromir where you lose control of your character, things like that. And they're like, huh. Well, they decided they were going to kind of do the murder hobo thing, and they were up on a cliff face, and some goats were running by, and they decided they wanted to slaughter the goats. And away they went. And one of them got his sword stuck in the goat and fell off the cliff about 100 feet, bounced a couple of times. His character was dying at the end and was going through death saves. So Danielle was playing as an assistant there to help. So she rappelled on down and tried to, save him. But he kept failing, the character kept failing the death saves and eventually died. And this was 45 minutes into it, Danielle? I forget. I got to look at my notes again.
It couldn't have been more than 45
Yeah.
minutes. I think it might have even been 20 minutes since they sat down.
Right, since they started playing. So they barely started playing and his character's already dead, right? And so and at first he's just kind of like, well, do I get another life? Do I respawn? What's the deal? Right, because video games. They're like, no, that character's gone. That character is no more. And then he started to kind of tear up. This is like a 15-year-old. And he's like, does that mean I don't get to play anymore? They're like, well, fortunately, Danielle here. What's that?
And I said, and that's when I got to give up my character.
Right. So she handed over her character, which had just been trying to resuscitate the character that died. So that was a kind of whoa experience that now I said, okay, you're this character who just tried to save this other character just died. How does your character feel? And he was just like, whoa. And by the time we went through all this process, I think we're about 90 minutes into it. He and the other kid now were buddied up. They never knew each other before, but they were working together, and they were acting much more heroically, and they weren't out to just slaughter animals, and they were having a good old time. And they buddied up, you know, as strangers with each other. Just a transformation within less than 2 hours. It was really remarkable. And we see this all the time. And that's not even our therapeutic, you know, targeted research programs. That's just community programs.
Well, can you talk a little bit about the therapeutic programs as well? I think that's an important facility. I mean, we've clearly seen, and I think most people who have played role-playing games have realized that there's something extraordinary about getting together and collaboratively working toward a common goal, right?
Yes.
Within the game, and that you bond, and that you learn how to trust, and you learn how to work together within that. But how does therapy take that a step further?
So the key thing, whether we're targeting an educational goal or a therapeutic goal, is that we create a specific, targeted, measurable goal and guide the process through. So when you're just doing normal recreational play, you know, you may have the missions of the adventure, whatever, but the whole point is just to have fun. And we've done a lot of research on just trying to figure that part out. So RPG optimization, the way we measure that is we measure immersion and potential experiences of flow state. And I'll try not to bore everybody with a bunch of theory, which I love to do all the time. But flow state, other people know it as being in the zone. And it's when you're at this optimal level of challenge where you're being pushed to your limits and a little bit beyond what you thought you could do. And that is an optimal state of enjoyment and an optimal state of learning. So whether you're learning pedagogic topics in school, or you're learning new life skills, or whether you're learning to deal with mental health issues, or you're dealing with physical rehab and you're trying to overcome physical pain, that's where we want our participants to be, whether it's tabletop, live action, computer-based, or solo adventures, in that state. And that's a totally subjective experience. We have no objective way yet, although we are checking out neuro monitoring equipment, to measure when somebody's in flow state. So it's a self-report thing. However, immersion, we've been working on scales that we can observe their body language and their level of focus and their reaction to stimuli. So I will drop a book hard on the floor or slam a door. And if somebody's at a sufficient level of immersion, they don't jump, they don't look, they stay focused on the game or the dice roll or the GM or the player who's talking, and you know that they're at a higher level of immersion on this scale. And so that's on the just having fun and making it optimal. So we've done years of research of just trying to figure out how to optimize room temperature, lighting, noise, seating, duration of gameplay, how frequently you play, the list goes on. And that'll help anybody to just have a better game experience. Now that we have a little more of an understanding of that, we can then say, okay, what are the knobs and dials we need to twist to help somebody, for example, with social phobias and panic disorder. So I have a couple of examples with people who they had become complete recluses. They did not leave their apartment and had everything delivered. Their family brought stuff. They would not leave their apartment. But they wanted their lives to change. And so basically we took kind of an exposure therapy approach where first I introduced them to some solo computer games and book and solo adventure book modules that they could kind of learn the basics of role-playing gaming and go through that in a safe setting because it's at home and, you know, it's a book, it's a computer, and games that I recommended that I felt were helpful, made them socialize in this solo setting and kind of guide them through that. So that's a key thing to this is the guidance. And another key thing is we do what we call processing, which is after an adventure, a session, we talk about what happened and what they thought about. And then we also say, well, as you go through the week, you know, if these things come up for you, if there's a particular challenge you're working on, remember what your character did to deal with this. Obviously, you know, if it was take out the orc that you were afraid of, we're not going to have you go take out people on the street that you're afraid of. So, you know, if there is violence involved, violence is a metaphor. It is not a model for solution. It is a metaphor for overcoming overwhelming obstacles, taking them on head on rather than fleeing. So people who poo-poo violence in games need to realize that there is a way to use that in a constructive way, as long as you work on processing and discussing it. So these people, we start solo, then I would have them go to what I felt was a safe online multiplayer role-playing game and work them through that. So now they had to socialize a little bit, but they're behind a screen and a keyboard, so that helped them. And then all along we're scoring their anxiety. When their anxiety gets below a certain level, then we move on to the next threshold. This is very standard exposure therapy technique. Then I would have them come to our offices, which are nice, calm, controlled environments. This is before I had the bus and the trailer. Now I can bring it straight to their doorstep. But it was part of the exercise was get them to get on the bus or me pick them up and help them overcome their anxiety going out the door. And they come and they would just watch one of our games in our controlled setting. And then they would join, and this would be a controlled, safe setting where I knew I could trust the players, and they would be supportive. I didn't have any other volunteers at the time. Now we have volunteers that can help with this, but at the time it was just other players that I knew I could trust. I was running about 12 groups at the time. So they come in, enjoy, and start socializing, engaging, and they'd have good days and bad days, but eventually, after a few weeks, their anxiety level came down, and they look forward to it. Finally, I would have them, and this was before I knew John personally, I took them out to a game master that I had observed a couple of times, and I really was impressed with what he was doing at game stores. And I'd have these people come with me, and we'd watch the game. And then after a couple of sessions, I'd have them introduce them and have them join the game. John didn't know this at the time. Because part of the point was that it was not supposed to be. He was supposed to face this out in the real world. And then he would have a safe experience and then keep doing this. So I did this with a couple of people. And we get varied results. So one person completely generalized. This person now runs multiple games at game stores, is out and about, and has their life back. They're completely free. The other one got partway there. He gets to one game a day, or one game a week, goes out, takes the bus, goes and plays, gets to the local grocery store, and gets out of the house a couple of times a week. Not a complete success, but their world has gone from a little bubble to so much more because of that.
Awesome.
And there's many others, but you know, that's just a couple of anecdotes.
It's clearly making a difference.
Yes.
And because you put time and effort into issues like accessibility, you're not having, it's not a case where someone who might be in a wheelchair
Right.
or might have other accessibility issues can't participate. You've made it easy to get them into that space where this can take place, which I think was part of the logic and the reasoning, not just being able to go to people, but being able to bring the space that anyone could come into. Is that correct?
Correct. It happened when I was at St. Luke's Rehab in the brain injury and spinal cord injury department. They wanted me running music and role-playing game programs, but we kept having trouble getting space. And so that was when I got the idea for the trailer, because we could wheelchair people out in the parking lot. We did it all the time as rec therapists. I said, well, what if I just rolled a trailer out there and we rolled everybody in and we did the activities there? And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Can you do it? And I'm like, well, I got to research it. And I spent years researching before I pulled the trigger on buying something. And both of these are prototypes. They're proofs of concept. They're not perfect, but they do work. In addition to helping with wheelchair access, now we can go in front of people's houses and bring it to them, what have you. It's also become really helpful for people who have stimulus overload. Autism Spectrum, perceptual disorders. If they come to a community program where it's really noisy and there's too much stimulus, we often have the bus, the trailer parked out front, and we can break off take the group into that trailer. So if we got 4 or 5 tables running and you got all these noisy kids making a ton of noise in a community center or a school, that is stimulus overload. They get very agitated. We can take. What's that?
You just described to me. I hate conventions for that reason.
Right, exactly. So we've done this at conventions. We show up with the bus and the trailer, so we got 2 game rooms on wheels. They're nice, comfy couches with game tables. We've got a refrigerator. The trailer has a bathroom and a bed and everything, so it saves on hotel costs when I'm on the road. The bus has a refrigerator and bookshelves, and so it's friendly colors, and it's just a nice environment. If we know they're on the spectrum and they have stimulus issues, we'll take down the maps and posters that are on the wall so that they have fewer distractions, etc. But it creates this nice, safe area for them to be able to enjoy the activity without too much stimulus.
Okay, so we've gone through what you do. We've gone through a lot of the background, and I think we've gone through the. I mean, my assumption is that participating in this and seeing these kinds of changes and how it affects people is also kind of transformative for the people who are volunteering. That it feels good to help in a way that's meaningful. And is that accurate?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's. John and Danielle, why don't you guys talk a little bit about that? Because you guys, they've stuck around all these years, right? They don't get paid. They all have to, all our volunteers, nobody's paid. None of us are paid. Everybody does this as a labor of love. Some of it's really hard work. Everybody has to attend at least 1 3-hour training session a week and then help at least twice a month with our programs. And many do far more than that. And we've been able to hold on, for the most part, to most of our volunteers over the years. Some have to kind of come and go with school, like their summer and winter and break and such. But they keep coming back for more. So maybe Danielle and John, you can talk a little bit about why you guys keep coming back for more.
Yeah, Danielle, you're on screen.
So I keep coming back for more because I see the difference not only in the kiddos but in myself. You are.
Oh, Danielle, you cut out.
Yeah, it sounds like we lost Danielle.
Oh, no.
Should we jump over to John?
Yeah, go ahead and jump to John.
The reason I keep coming back is because I really want this to work. I really love the idea of being helpful with these people. I have been working with people who have been on the spectrum, people who have had PTSDs, just because I run all my games in public and I'm always allow whoever shows up to show up. And when people have a problem player, I prefer to try to work it out so that player can continue to play rather than saying, okay, you have to go find somebody else again. But I like the impact that we have and that the fact that we can do more with this when we finally get big enough to start having full-size programs and things like that.
Awesome. Well, I think what I'd like to do at this point is take another look at your Patreon page and start diving into how we can take these experiences, which are clearly powerful for the people who are volunteering to offer them and for the people who are experiencing them, and I'm assuming in some cases life-changing even, how we can take that emotional experience and communicate that to the people out there who might be willing to support your program. So I'm switching to our Chrome browser here.
Okay.
So RPG Research is creating non-profit research and services improving quality of life. How does that statement make you feel emotionally?
Are you asking me or the others or the audience?
Anyone who wants to jump in.
I've always felt that the improving quality of life is something. We've used different versions of that. Really, the mission and vision statements. Really. It looks like I need to fix those links. Luckily, it does redirect. Really, kind of help with some of that, but in trying to get into one line, I really struggle with one-line pithy responses and slogans. We've not been able to nail that down. We've gone through a lot of different iterations.
I suspect that part of what you're facing is because the work that you do as a nonprofit and as within the world of research and therapy, you have to be rigorous.
Yes.
You have to describe what you're doing.
Yes.
In terms that are very, very clear.
Yep.
To the entities that you're responsible to.
Exactly, and so that brevity does not translate well in the professional and academic world. It works. You need it in the rest of the world. So I'm very good at covering my rear. As far as I will do the research and make darn certain. I worked in tech for a lot of years, and if I made a mistake, we could lose $100,000 a minute, on sites. You get really good at making sure that doesn't happen again and covering all your bases by doing a lot of good research and testing, etc. And then I've brought that into, with recreation therapy and research psychology, etc. So I like to be very accurate and correct and pick the words very carefully, but that does not necessarily evoke an emotional response from others. That is definitely problematic.
Right. And so, talking a little bit about our history, all of you know this, probably the people watching do too, but for the sake of being thorough, trying to learn lessons from you. So, we accidentally, in 2002, fell into a niche that we hadn't planned for when we made a film called The Gamers.
Woohoo!
And the amazing thing that The Gamers did was that it spoke to an identity that had not been served. And it spoke to an experience that had not been served. When we'd seen role-playing games in media previously, it was almost always punching down. It was laughing at the nerds in the basement. It was saying, hey, look at these dorks.
And that's still mostly
and
the case.
From this perspective of, hey, we love this. Here's a love letter to this that explains it with humor that, number one, is going to speak to people within it, but number two, is going to be a tool to allow them to explain why they love it. And since then, we really, as we've come to kind of learn this process, and as we've improved over 18 years, oh my goodness.
Can you believe it?
With audiences, for me, it keeps coming back to that question of how do you speak to identity? How do you speak to community? How do you speak to people's desire to belong to something?
Yeah.
And what it sounds like is that for your volunteers and for the people you're serving, you are 100% succeeding in offering that experience.
Yes.
And now the challenge is, how do we translate that experience out to the world?
Right.
And it's a case where the academic rigor that is required in some ways now becomes a detriment. And we have to start thinking about marketing. And I hate marketing. I hate even more than marketing, I hate inauthenticity. We all have to be authentic and real about what we're doing.
Yep.
And so my big question for you is, how can we rephrase this in a way that speaks to the experience that we want people to have? How can we define that experience?
That has been the challenge. Let me interject though, just because you and I have had an ongoing relationship helping each other out in our, both our visions, because I've been a big believer in what you've been trying to do, and have helped, we've helped each other over the years. And one of the things we do in our training is Gamers 2, Darkness Rising, we use as part of our mandatory training for all of our gaming volunteers, because we start and stop. We make sure everybody goes and watches it just for fun. And then we parse through it like every couple of minutes and say, okay, what's the dynamic going on now with those players? What's the tension now between the GM and the players? What's the GM doing right? What's the GM doing wrong? What's happening with these players? How would you de-escalate this circumstance? We are able to use, because Matt's writing and you guys and your representation of it so spot on of all the different scenarios that about every 2 to 5 minutes, it takes several sessions to watch through when we're doing a training using just Gamers 2 Darkness Rising. So we have that intimate a connection with your work that way. And then, of course, helping with the Fantasy Network and all that as well, just believing in what you're trying to do here. So here's what keeps happening. And we did this before when we did the workshop a couple of years ago, is I get the page all trimmed down to just, a couple of paragraphs and a couple of key buzzwords, and it always feels lacking.
And I'm gonna pull your page up here so we can take
Yeah. So then I add another paragraph trying to, because somebody will ask a question. They're like, well, what about this? Because our site is massive. We haven't even finished moving servers. Our old server has over 3,800 content items. One 20-page essay is one content item. We're only at about 400 or 500 content items on the new server. It's overwhelming. And we get that it overwhelms other people. And unless they're academics or professionals who use the search box and are looking for deep content, it's too much. And I'm ADHD, so I have high stimulus and all of that. So I really struggle with, well, and here's the big problem. We're talking to about 4 different audiences. So how do you make a site that is different language for all of them? So remember, I used to have 4 different photos up there, and one said, are you an educator? Are you a therapist? Are you, a player? Are you a parent who's concerned? Something like that. And then you drilled down from there. And maybe I just didn't have the best photos. I don't know.
So what
Yeah.
I've done here in the background, I've pulled up, if you have a chance on a browser, go to
Yep.
fantasy.network.
I see it.
I want to use this as a bit of an example.
Great.
And what you're going to see is
The video.
a video. It says, watch, renew, and create. Within cinematic worlds of pure imagination, your support keeps the story alive.
Right.
And then when we scroll down, we're then going to expand on, here's watch, here's renew, here's create. So we've started with one phrase, now we're expanding out.
Right.
Now we have the invitation to browse the content. Now, so in each place, we're trying to cut it down to as simple as possible.
Right.
And as simple as possible on that main page.
Yeah.
Now we're at the point with, okay, here's some shared cinematic universes.
Yep.
Some information about that. Here's information for creators about funding your show. Here's the people behind it. Here's a final video with some more information.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm showing this is because I struggle with my impulse is always, I want to go into the theory. I want to explain why and how this works.
Right.
And the truth with Patreon, the truth with anything out there is that 90% of the audience isn't going to read the posts.
Right.
They don't read our posts.
Yeah.
They don't read your posts. And then they come back 6 months later and said, I never knew about this.
Right.
Right?
Yep. Well, and I last night tried to do that because I knew this was coming. So back on our front page,
Yeah.
I quickly created 5 buttons,
Okay.
just 5 blue buttons, and then there's others. Yeah. So last night I just threw those. I reworded that very top of the page is all brand new as of the last 24 hours, trying to distill it. Yes. And I'm like, all right, I got to buckle down. And so I've got, share to help improve lives. I've got join the community, share your perspective, sign up as a volunteer, donate, and participate in community programs, because those are kind of where we want folks to be engaged. That's all part of the community building and engagement. That's a different approach than in the past, where I was focusing on what interest area are you coming from. Are you a therapist? Are you a researcher? Are you an educator? Are you a parent who's concerned? Are you a gamer? Very different approach. I don't know which is a better approach.
Yeah, well, and as you've identified, so much of it comes down to the audience.
Right.
And, I think there's a lot of room to hone that message down to a couple of core pieces that speak to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've also ended up with a phrase here, creating nonprofit research and services, improving quality of life, that is so vague that people will look at that and say, and move on.
Right.
And let me try throwing some options.
Please. Please.
There's no guarantee they're going to be right,
Sure.
but it's an exercise. And anyone, please, as stuff comes up, throw it out there. So,
Well, you saw the next one down on the Patreon is a little longer, but it is more.
yeah, no one cares about research driven. Nobody cares.
Okay.
I care and you care, and the people who are creating content care.
Uh-huh.
Audience.
Okay.
Again, we want to that back. You're not selling a Patreon campaign to researchers.
Okay. So, well, actually, the ones who have stayed with us, half of them are there because of the research. The few that we have. That is specifically.
The 20.
Right, I know. Yeah.
RPG research is, I'm going to say this wrong, and then I'm going to ask you to correct me. RPG research is using role-playing games to help people with disabilities live better lives.
Okay.
Now, how would you fix that?
Well, I mean, if I take what you're trying to do there and remove the research-driven approach, RPG research creates inclusive and accessible. Let's say I've got programs that measurably improve. I guess I'd get rid of the measurably improve part. So RPG research creates.
I'm just trying to do your very
yes.
one, replacing creating nonprofit research and services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're not even second paragraph.
Okay.
Your core pitch here.
Yeah, RPG research uses role-playing games to make lives better, right? For people who need it most.
RPG.
And it's not even disabilities, like we
Yeah.
risk youth too.
Yeah. And so we need kind of a top-level category here. We need one or two words that give us the umbrella sense of who this audience is, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, we use role-playing games to make lives better for those who need it most. So how do I parse that down even more?
Using role-playing games that almost feels passive in a way. I know it's the active voice, but RPG research helps people with role. But see again, we're missing that umbrella concept.
So when the earlier version, I went, all right, I'll go full hype used car salesman mode.
Good.
And let's see if I can find them on the older page. But it basically just says, we make lives better through games. We make lives better through adventure. We
Make lives better is vague.
okay.
How about improving life quality through gaming?
Yeah, it's still vague.
Right. Because what you're doing, and I think part of the problem that we've run into over and over and throughout the years in figuring this out is how do we say what you're doing?
Right, because we do a lot.
You do a lot, and when the umbrella gets too large,
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything anymore.
right.
So how do we say, what I'm trying to get in at is that experience and that identity. We want it to feel like an invitation to people that they can. RPG research empowers everyone to use role-playing games to improve lives.
Okay. Okay.
So we're now using language of, it's not just something the RPG research is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's tools that anyone can use, and that's valuable.
Okay.
RPG research is teaching everyone
Yeah.
and improve isn't right either.
Yeah.
But how to do something for their lives through tabletop role playing.
Yeah, I had a version here, and I'm not sure. Let's see, maybe it's in my about. I kept using buzzwords like empower and, I can't remember. Where did I?
What
Yeah.
about creating life-changing opportunities through role-playing games?
It's a little vague again.
Yeah. That's the challenge.
Vagueness is
Not connecting with people.
not connecting.
Right.
They don't get what it is, and people don't understand something, they move on.
Right.
They're not going to take the time to dig in.
Sure.
So RPG research is
Well, does it help if I if I mention, because our vision statement's really fairly short, our mission statement's a little longer, but maybe there's some keywords in there.
let's hear it.
So it covers some of the stuff that we've already said we don't want to say, but I'm going to read it through. So our vision statement is using scientific research to determine the actual caveats and benefits from participation in music and role-playing game activities. Over time we will, and then it's a bullet list, eliminate the myths and stigma associated with these activities, help participants achieve a remarkably improved quality of life, we have measurements for that, raise the experience of the human condition globally through the sharing of knowledge on a free platform accessible to all, while encouraging others to share their findings on this platform, provide free training to those willing to take the time as volunteers to develop the skills necessary to achieve these goals, and to provide services that achieve all of the above. So that's the short version of our mission statement.
Tell me in a sentence how role-playing games improve lives.
They improve, when it goes well, they improve the human condition. They raise you to, if you're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you get closer to that ideal state of being. If you get to flow state, you're at the optimal state of functioning, enjoyment, and learning and growth. Your camaraderie and cooperativeness, we're working with others rather than just yourself, overcoming obstacles that you never thought you could do and couldn't do without the help of others, helps grow so many different parts of your skills and experience and perspective of life. That's the problem. It's so multivariate.
So let me see if I can sum this down.
Yeah.
I'm going to sum it up and
Yep.
I'm going to dump it down.
Great.
Not just a game. RPGs help you workshop how to improve your life. Help you practice the skill. Help you practice skills to improve your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
Okay. So, not just a game, role-playing, RPG. Let me see if I can get this. Not just a game, tabletop RPGs help you improve your lives and the lives of the people you play with.
Okay. And you don't have to specify tabletop because we found the benefits across the different formats. So you can just say role-playing games.
Role-playing games.
Yeah.
But you see how I'm trying to hone in on,
Yep.
trying to evoke an experience.
Right.
People play role-playing games because they love them.
Yes.
We can find that piece, they will get it.
Yes.
And you speak to that love, and you get something where people are responding the way that they're responding to the gamers.
Right. Well, and some of the bumper stickers I've made over time say, for example, one is role-playing games build character, right? One of my other businesses related to this, I have improving lives through adventure and exploration. But again, the improving lives is still kind of vague. Yeah.
Yeah. So, homework for you, and I know it's, I'm constantly harping on this.
Yep.
Is find the phrase that speaks to the experience that is universal.
Yep.
And
Without being vague.
Specific.
That's the problem, is without being vague. Because I'm trying to be all-inclusive, so I use very broad terms, which are accurate and inclusive, but don't evoke an immediate emotional response.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think there's value in, out of the 5 or 6 pieces that you're talking about, working your way down to one. You're still doing the whole mission. With Zombie Orpheus, I'm still doing the whole mission. But every time we go out to do a Kickstarter, every time we go out to do a project, it is 100%, this is what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pitching Journey Quest while I'm trying to sell Star Wars.
Right, right.
Because they're different audiences.
Yeah.
And then you find there will be people who, through Journey Quest, they become fans of the other things and they start to view the big picture and participate in the umbrella, right?
Yeah, and that's where I've tried to create kind of different sub-brands, but I'm worried about brand dilution. So, for example, if you type in drop-in and rpg.com, that jumps to a subsection of our site, but it's become its own. That is our community programs that you can drop in and rpg.com.
Okay.
And we've got a logo I recently created for it, and it is very focused on just the community programs that are open to the public from Fridays 4 to 7. at different locations. So that one I'm able to go, boom, that's it. And that's why it's kind of, I've had to break it into its own sub-entity, even though it's all part of RPG research, to hopefully make the messaging easier.
Mm-hmm. And that's good. That is extremely clear.
Right.
In some ways, that's an easier sell
right.
than the big picture.
Right, exactly. And it says we offer free role-playing game programs open to the public ages 5 on up.
But, I mean, that's what you're doing
right.
Across the board, right? It's
right.
What you're doing with RPG Bus, it's what you're doing
yep.
with the RPG trailer.
Yep.
That's a great core mission statement.
Okay.
That's a good pitch.
Okay.
Drop it. I like the logo.
Cool.
So, I mean, let's audition this. RPG Research is offering free role-playing game programs.
Open to the public, ages 5 on up. but,
and let me take a step.
Okay.
Let me try to adjust this a little bit.
Sure.
RPG Research is offering free role-playing game programs that are accessible to everyone.
Right. Yep. Accessible to all. Yep.
So now, next step is you can start explaining what does that mean.
Okay.
We have accessibility for physical disability. We have
yep.
Accessibility for you can kind of go down the line, right?
Yep.
And that allows people to jump in from some of those key words and say, oh, this is what applies to me. This speaks to it.
Right.
So, RPG Research is offering free role-playing game programs accessible to all.
Yep.
And then as a subheader, and we are empowering and training anyone to offer similarly accessible programs.
Okay.
Now you have this sense of it's not just you doing it, there are a bunch of other people doing it as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me that from there you can now start breaking it into these categories so that on the research side people have that hook, but they can dig into why it works. If
right.
Research, if they just want to offer free, accessibility is powerful, and it
sure.
It speaks so much to the work that so many people are doing to make our world more accessible. It's intersectional.
Right.
It takes social justice into account. It takes that we don't want to exclude people into account. And now you're talking identity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so for example, rpgtour.com, when we do the tour, it says, so here it is, drop in an RPG so accessible, inclusive, freely open to the public. Okay, so it says RPG Tour's purpose is to raise awareness about accessibility, inclusiveness issues, adaptive equipment technologies, the power of therapeutic recreation, music, and role-playing games to help improve quality of life for various populations. But the key thing is that it is accessible, inclusive role-playing games open to all.
I need to leave.
Yep. Okay.
I know we've gone over just a little bit here, but
no problem.
Feel like thank you so much for joining us. Is that John?
That was John, yeah. Take care, John. Thanks for joining. Brooke, did you have anything you wanted to interject? You've been really great, helpful with this in the past.
I think it's just building upon what we've been trying to focus on for the past few months.
Yeah.
Streamlining and,
yep.
and parsing it down. And
yep.
how do we reach those audiences in a way that matters to them?
Right.
So, great. We're just building upon that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I would love to do is to circle back around and do another one of these sessions in a few weeks.
Please.
Or next month, if that works for you.
Oh, yeah, because we have a board meeting this Thursday, and we're going to go through all this, and, yeah, that would be about the right amount of time.
Yeah, and at that point, let's actually build piece by piece what a landing page might look like for your website. And what
Perfect.
a page might look like, and how we can take free role-playing game programs accessible to everyone, and use that as a springboard to open up the rest of these worlds that you've built without overwhelming people.
Sounds great. Sounds like a good plan.
Fantastic.
All
Well,
right.
I know we've gone over slightly, and I apologize for that. Thank you all for taking the time today. Everyone, you can check out RPG Research at rpgresearch.com. Right here. Check out their Patreon, and if you're interested in their mission, definitely click that button to help support them. We're going to work on getting that Patreon page updated and to a point where people look at it and say, hell yeah. If you've watched this whole stream, you're probably already saying, hell yeah. So that's great. And make sure that you follow their Twitch channel where, I know the link's on your page, but where can we find that?
Basically, just put /RPG Research on any social media, and that's generally where we are.
Fantastic. And Zombie Orpheus auto-hosts your Twitch channel when we're not streaming. So
And we auto-host yours. Yep.
very easy to find them.
Yep.
And I want to offer a huge thank you to all of the Zombie Orpheus Patreon supporters who are making these workshops possible. And thank you to our community on Discord. Thank you to the subscribers to the Fantasy Network who have joined us through that platform. We're constantly building and growing. These new seminars and workshops are an exciting experiment. If you are a subscriber and you want to participate in one of these workshops where we dig in and model a Kickstarter campaign or rebuild a Patreon page or talk about how we can bring your content where you want to go, if you are interested in developing your screenplay, working on story structure, we have so many people who are part of our community who are eager to share their knowledge and their expertise with you and to help all of us to be able to create more and better work. So please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Hawk and to Brooke and Danielle and to John who's left us already. And we will catch you next time for our following seminar. Take care and have a great night.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, cool.
Woot woot.
So I know that I kind of went back to some of the same things we discussed before, but
It's okay.
felt that was a good place to start.
You bet.
And build from there in a consistent way, because I know that you have the material that you need. We just need to find
Yeah, the gem.
on the hook.
Gotta chisel away all the rest to find that gem.
That's great.
Yeah.
Sweet. Anything else you want to go over before we get offline?
How's the network doing?
So overall, we're doing really well. Obviously, we've added live streaming, and that's like made a big financial gamble on that.
Yeah.
It's what you do. Yeah, we need to get some more Kickstarter campaigns going, but we're onboarding content, we're onboarding creators, and I'm happy with it. I think at some point we need to look at our server situation.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're still basically running on the development infrastructure. It wasn't really meant to be full production.
Yeah, so we need to move some stuff over and maybe wind some servers down and get ourselves more efficient there. I've been chatting with Starable.com, who is a big community of filmmakers. They're working on a feature and replacement for filmmakers, and I think we might want over the next 6 months to look at what would it take to connect their interface with Glue, first of all for us, but then eventually kind of expand it out to that filmmaker community to be able to expand the use of these integrations that we're building.
Right. And that's the beauty of Glue, is that it should be able to talk to anything as long as they've got industry standard APIs.
That's exactly it. And they don't have an open API yet, but
Right.
But I may pull you into a call with a couple of them.
You bet.
In a few weeks.
Be happy to help.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's still going. I mean, it seems like as far as support issues and stuff, it seems like it's running pretty smoothly. Unless I'm
pretty happy with where we are right now.
good.
We just have more work to do to get
Oh
to
yeah,
where we are.
of course, of course. I was bracing for so many things to go wrong, and I keep waiting, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's working great.
Yeah, like once we got Blue functioning,
Yeah,
Jay has been able to just continue building integration.
exactly. That was the hope. That was the hope. I'm so glad it's held up. Yeah, you definitely your infrastructure is not going to scale very far. The way it is, those VPSs can only go so far, etc. The Intrinium ones I think can go up pretty high, but the GoDaddy stuff is pretty limited. So, but okay, well that I just wanted to see because the involvement there. I was just curious how that was going. How are you doing? You look like you're doing a lot better health wise and such. You had good color and everything.
Well, that's not good lighting right now.
Yeah, that helps.
No, I'm doing well. I was really sick last month, but the difference of being in Canada and being able to get care quickly and affordably is unbelievable.
Well, good. I'm so glad that you've been able to do that. And are you managing your life balance better now, or is it still pretty same overload?
Well, the big difference. My wife quit her job in December. Oh, just a second. I need to
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Need to end this event. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Great. We had a peak of 5 viewers. No, she quit her job.
Yeah.
She quit her job in December and is now, we're devoting 2019 to both of us working full time on making this work.
Okay.
And scaling up. And so she's helping dramatically with capacity.
Oh, great. All right. Well, thank you. We're gonna bring all this up to the board. I apparently have created an echo. I'm sorry about that. And we'll definitely schedule another one once we've had time to parse that. And yeah, if we can get a page going, that'll be great.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much. You bet. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Hawk.
Bye, Danielle. Brooke, you there?
I did not get in the GC room.
Weird.
Same buzz.
Why do I have an echo? What is... Oh, because I've got 2 Jitsi rooms, that's why. Dope! There we go. Okay. One browser was hiding the other one. Okay. So, pretty much the same thing we've been discussing, but it helps to get extra eyeballs on it and helps to have him, spread it to his network, and hopefully it'll turn into some more donors over time.
I took notes for all of it.
Good. And I recorded it too, so, and of course he recorded it too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. That's for sure.
Well, and I like his offer to help us go step by step and make the landing page. That'll really help.
Yeah. I think what he was saying makes a lot of sense, and we've been getting towards that.
Yep. All right. So first of all, what is going on with verified volunteers?
So which part?
I only show when I log in 9 volunteers, 3 of which still haven't been verified.
So that is accurate, because I slowed down waiting on some people because of funding. But then, so I haven't sent it to you, John, or Danielle, though, so I'm assuming we should do that.
Okay. But like I show, unless you closed them out since last time, let me pull it back up here. Right, so I show open invitation to you, Solomon, and Riley.
Yeah.
So I thought they passed their. I'm confused if they.
Solomon and Riley didn't complete the form. Everybody else has.
Okay, okay,
Those are the only people that have been sent the invitation.
okay. I thought we had done a lot more than that. That's interesting. Okay, and what's the difference between L2 and L3? Because I see Shane Dean's only an L2 and everybody else was L3.
It's the advanced versus the complete. So it was what we had talked about for if you could do programs and stuff. Solomon is the L2.
Okay.
Like if they weren't going to be face-to-face with clients,
Okay.
they weren't doing
good point.
As in-depth.
Right. Good point. Okay. Thank you for that. So where the heck do I go to look at how we're paying for stuff?
I tried. It will not let me show anything on my end.
Yeah, I can't find it anywhere.
Any of the organizational stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I honestly don't remember.
Because we were going through our bank account and nothing's coming out of the RPG Research bank account.
Okay. Have you gotten invoices to your mailbox at the office?
No. To my office, no, not at all. I believe I have some emails back. Let's see. Okay, here's January 9th attached invoice from December 31st. It's PDF. Let's see what it says. So it says total orders 3, December 1st through December 31st. Total orders 3, updates processed $0. It says quantity 4, updates processed 0, subtotal 0, and my total due is 0. Even though it said that there were 4 updates processed. Are we on a subscription model?
I don't know.
Because yeah, I mean, if it did 4 processes, so let me jump back to November 30th. Look at that one. Okay, that one shows for Dan in Brazil, $18. Amount, tax, contribution total, bill code L3. So that's the detailed one. Let me open the other one.
Because it will update people monthly.
Yeah.
Like it'll rerun.
Oh, okay. That's what those were. Okay. So maybe that's what those were because they're okay. So total orders 4, 1 Globex, 3 updates processed. The updates are 0. The Globex was 18, so that was for Dan in Brazil. It's an invoice. It says payment terms net 30 with a billing ID. But how did they get paid?
So it doesn't. After that bill, it doesn't like on that invoice. It doesn't say pay.
It just says remit to verified volunteers PO box and for accounts inquiry. I'll forward you. Let me see if they both have that. Let me look at the other detailed one. I notice there's 2 PDFs in there. Yeah, but it says nothing due for the bill we got in January. Doesn't show anything due. So I'm going to send you the November one because that actually has something in it. And you can take a look at it. Oh, come on, where am I?
We purposefully didn't give me access to like the financial side of it.
Right, but I can't see it either.
Yeah, but so like I can't even go in and see who the other people in my organization are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I can see the volunteers, but like I can't see you. I can't see John.
I don't think I can. I don't think I can either.
You won't even like if you go to
So
your
view all.
settings.
If I go where?
Account settings in verified.
Yeah, account settings. Okay.
And so all I have access to is my my user profile, and then on the left-hand side, there's the thing that says
Organization users, yeah. Okay, and I can see you, John, and me.
Okay.
I can't do anything. I can, let's see if I can click on you. Okay, click on you. Okay, I can click on you and I can edit that. You can't do that?
I can edit myself, but I can't, like, the organization users tab is just grayed out.
Okay, okay. So I do definitely have more, like, I mean, your standard user, let's see, can I bump you up? I can bump you up to administrator if you wanted that.
I mean, but there's no other tab that says, like, payment. I mean, I find it hard to believe they don't allow electronic payment.
Well, and how are they getting paid? Because we're not showing anything out of our RPG research account. So is it one of my, because I've got 6 banks of my own.
Well, so the way that I see the November one, that looks like we do still owe $18.
So we owe for all of these? Are we in arrears? So if I go to the October one and take a look at that one, because they haven't said it, so I look at the October one, that's $67, because we had a $49 L3 and an $18 Globex. That's from the invoice from October 31st, so total $67. And they say net 30, so you'd think they'd be throwing a fit by now.
You would think, but I feel like maybe we just haven't paid.
And that was for Eric and Omar. Great. And they just haven't contacted us at all. I mean, we've got the money in the bank. We've got over $2,000 in the bank, so we can pay this. Yeah, it's weird.
It's really weird to me also that they want you to pay via mail.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, we could email accounting at Verified Volunteers and be like, hey.
I think that's what we should do at this point. Say, hey, what's the situation? We're not seeing the flow of money here. Are we in arrears? What's going on? Let's find out. Yeah, if you could do that and find out where we're at, that would be kind of important.
Yeah. Well, and I just, like, if we could pay electronically.
Right, that would be preferred. That would definitely be preferred.
Check.
We don't have checks. I'll have to order checks if they want checks.
And that's so hard to believe. So on your user profile, you can't see anything like payment.
Nothing. I can't see any option related to finances in the least bit. I don't see what we owe. I don't see anything. And the resource hub just goes to a generic page. It doesn't have anything specific.
Oh, no.
It's just training and stuff. Let's see, organization admin guide. Let's see if that has anything useful.
Their reports has access fees summary. Oh, that's by state.
Yeah, let's just send them an email and say, hey, we're really confused here. And we want to make sure we're paying you. And if we are paying you, we want to know how. So if you can email them that and we'll just see what they say. All right. Let me know when you get that wrapped up, and then we'll go on to the next topic.
Okay, yeah, we can go on.
Okay. So, any response? I did get an email from Brad.
Yeah.
So he's alive. I'm relieved to hear that. Did you talk to him at all, or he just said, yeah, I'm alive?
No, he just responded to the email you had previously sent
Oh,
to him.
weird. Okay.
Yeah. He must have known we were talking about it.
So I'm glad to know he's alive. I was literally worried about something bad having happened to him because of what he does. So I'm relieved to hear that. And I get that he's busy. It sounds like when we open up our Saturday program, he might be able to be more active. We'll see.
Yeah.
I was hoping for that. Any word on anybody else?
No, but I honestly, it's been a very hectic week for me.
Okay.
So I haven't been able to fully
Okay.
dive into it yet.
Right.
I did include Brienne and I sent out the email to those Dan and Lillian asking if they wanted to join fundraising. And
Yeah.
none of them responded.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, at least Lillian I see every Sunday, so I know where she's at.
And we figured she was kind of a maybe.
Yeah, she's been kind of backing off because of schoolwork and everything. She made that clear.
Right.
But Brienne, I really want to get her rolling, and it's been kind of crickets since you sent her the packet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard anything back since, right?
Yeah, no, I sent it to the email that she would forward me, where she said, send this to this email.
Right.
So I sent it to the email listed in there, and that's the same one I sent her
Yeah.
for the fundraising invite.
Right.
So, I haven't
Yeah.
yet that. I don't know what her plan is.
And then also, go ahead.
I was going to switch topics.
Okay. I also really want to hear from Solomon because he's the sysadmin help that I desperately need. I really want to get Brienne and Solomon rolling here because they will help. Because I'm pulling 120 plus hour weeks again here, and I can't maintain that indefinitely. And they will be able to. Between them, I could shave. I mean, at first I got to train them, so it adds to my load at first. But over time, it could drop my workload 20 hours a week, which would be a huge help. Getting down to 100 hours a week would be an improvement. And then I'm hoping as I get others trained up more, I'm hoping I get back down to like 80 hours a week, and that would be much more manageable because I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
So, but I was also, as far as the board, I wanted to make sure everybody, I had an up-to-date screenshot on that, or snapshot of where everybody was at on that. So.
Yeah. I might put together just a generic, hey, how are you, check-in email that I can just send out to.
Yeah, but for our new people, we need to really make sure that we nudge them into action. So, yeah. And then I just added another person today. I haven't sent you the trigger. He hasn't replied yet to confirm, so waiting for the confirmation. He verbally confirmed, but he's got to respond to the email, and then I'll send you the notification to send a packet, and I'll start onboarding him. He was somebody John had referred over, so I already knew about him. But number 54.
I have him and then 50. I have.
What's that?
I want to make sure I have number 53 and 52.
Okay. Yeah, remember I created a contact page, and as soon as they say yes, I add them there so that we have that to reference. Yeah, 52 and 53 are Anna Carol Ryburn, who just came on board, and Catherine Deere. So they're just starting to come on board. They're both, so one's a researcher, and one is a GM trainee. And then, Brienne's offered to do like closed captioning and web copy and social media. Oh my goodness, that would help so much. She just finished her, her degree in all of this marketing stuff. So she's now anxious to get that experience, and I'm anxious to get her rolling. So, and then Blake Rose, we've got to make sure we get her that minor form. Did you get a chance to look through that minor form?
I haven't read it word for word, but
okay.
When I looked it over, it looked good to me.
Okay.
So,
all
I
right.
didn't know if you wanted to trust my not reading it word for word. But very intent.
Yeah, so far nobody's pointed out any typos, which would shock me.
Yeah.
Considering how tired I am, I've had some horrible typos. So if you think it's good, then go ahead and fire that off to both Shane Daniels and which I think he's ghosting us, but still send it anyway. Shane Daniels and Blake Rose.
Is Riley 17, you think?
What's that?
Is Riley still 17?
He is still 17, so, but at this point, he's about to turn 18, so.
Okay.
I think he did fill out a Tolkien version way back when, so I think I have something, but by this point, if they were going to do something to us,
Yeah.
all this time he's been sneaking.
He was at your house, not like 12 hours a week.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's get the one to to Blake and Shane Daniels, and Shane Daniels again, I think, is ghosting us. He's a high school dropout, and I had my suspicions about him, but we'll see. But Blake is really excited, and we're excited to get her on board. So we just need to get that parental support.
Yeah. Does Blake have a preferred pronoun? Or
Currently, he.
currently he? Okay.
A couple months ago, it was she. A couple months before that, it was they. So, 15-year-old going through all that in the current climate. So I just, to be as safe as possible, I'm just trying to use proper names when it comes to that. So, you know, yeah. Well, and I did have a talk with Dr. B yesterday, Rafael Bocamazzo, about did I step on people's toes? Because remember, I've been worried I have back at PAX. Yeah, I was right. I apparently really upset Tanya, who's the African-American woman on the panel. They had to talk her down. She was so livid, apparently. Yeah, she did not want a teaching moment at that time. It was an emotional thing for her, not a, she didn't want to hear me be in professor mode. So yeah, I was right that it went over like a lead balloon. And apparently spread through the whole conference. So, way to go, Hawk. So I've been trying to whip up an apology. I started writing something up, and then I started putting a video together, and Katie just responded back. It needed a little bit of editing, but it was on the right track. And I was going to just send that video privately to the individuals who I apparently... The problem is a couple of things. One is, yeah, I stepped on toes, and you know, there was that panel, but the other thing is I've apparently confused everybody else, you know, the Game to Grow folks and Dr. B and Dr. Megan Connell. They think I'm trying to corner the market, and that I think they're all second class, and they don't understand the difference between RPG research and RPG therapeutics goals. So there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding there. It's the exact opposite of what I wanted to have happen, but clearly I screwed up in my communication. And so the apology is like, I am so sorry. This is 180 degrees from what I was trying to do. I will try to improve my messaging and do better. And I really didn't mean to upset people at all, and I'm so sorry for that. But that is, and I guess, you know, some of it started 2 years ago when I put out the certifications on the LLC side, when I re-announced those. They thought that made them second-class citizens in this industry. And I was like, no, it's trying to just standardize training. That's all it is. And I don't pretend to know it all by any stretch. It's just a best effort. Like, I'm just trying to figure this out, and standardization helps with training, and it helps us move forward, and it helps with research. But it's been interpreted far differently than was intended. I'm trying to build community, and instead it sounds, they think I'm trying to build my own kingdom. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to do the opposite. I don't want to be the one talking and everything. I want to be behind the scenes and let the community grow and watch it all happen and just like, wow. But right now, it takes my energy to get it going. And so they're interpreting that I'm a megalomaniac. So that was not what was hoped.
No, I mean, I'm sorry that has happened, but I'm glad someone told you.
Yes.
So kind of like, no.
Exactly. Well, that's why I reached out to Raphael, because he's on the autism spectrum. So I was pretty certain I could get him to be blunt with me. Because like, I have a thick skin. Just tell me what's going on, because I'm guessing all these things, but nobody says anything to me. They have never. The Adams, Megan, Tanya, any of these people has never said one word to me, either through email or in person or anything, letting me know, like, hey, you're kind of pissing us off. And I'm like, oh, not one word. It's just been avoidance. And I guess that's where our culture is now. People don't want to deal with even the semblance of conflict, because it wouldn't be conflict with me. It'd be like, I am so sorry. What can I do to improve this? But people don't know that. And I know I come across, I'm a big guy and I can be loud. And so maybe people, are worried that I would be confrontational, but I'm not. So luckily Raphael, I let him just tell me, and he got a little colorful with the metaphors at one point. He's like, and why are you effing doing this and this? And so I have some really useful notes. And I was like, well, that's really useful info. Thank you very much. And he's like, wow, thanks for being willing to just listen to all of it. I was like, I've not tried to get defensive. I'm like, no, this is what I needed. Thank you. Now I got to figure out how to resolve it, but that is exactly what I needed. And I said, hey, if I'm doing stuff in the future, it's not your responsibility, but if you want to call me on it, please do. I can take it. I've got a thick skin. That's not a problem. But it's really hard to improve things if I don't know, if nobody's telling me. Or I may have a feeling about it, but without confirmation, it's hard to know to act on it. And it's like, okay. And so he's talking about maybe helping us get on some of the PAX West panels, whereas before, basically, we were going to be excluded. Because up till that conversation, basically, I got blacklisted. So good thing to have that conversation. Whether or not it's solved, we will see. The main thing is all of them role play together. They have their regular gaming group, so they are gaming friends. And I had been in before the Saturday panel, so the Friday panel, they invited me to join the group. But after the Saturday panel, basically I got disinvited. And that's part of so that makes sense though. They've become their own little clique, and we're not part of that clique, and so that exacerbated the issue, and they're talking amongst themselves, and what is Hawk doing here? So the other big one is, well, what one thing are you trying to do? And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to do any one thing. Well, you need to focus on just one thing. And I didn't say it, but I don't think I can do that. Katie said you would be so bored if it was only one thing. Like, yeah. So I know that creates confusion for others.
Yeah, I think if anything, we have all learned that focusing on one thing is not.
Yeah.
It's not the way we're gonna go.
No. But anyway, it was very helpful. I'm so glad he took the time in his busy schedule and was straightforward with me, and I'm very grateful for it. So, and if you want, do you want me to run the apology video by you as well after I get some more feedback from Katie on what I should edit?
If you want to.
Okay, because I want to be really careful, because it could end up public. I don't think there's anything in it that would be a huge, oh my goodness, like we're ruined. If it was public, it would just be mildly embarrassing, because it is just me apologizing and then trying to explain a little bit. But I'm eating a lot of crow. So, and I don't mention any specific names, because the people know who they are. I don't want to single them out. And then I was just going to send that unlisted link to each of them, to Raphael, to Megan, to Tanya. And I would ask Raphael, is there any point in me sending this to Tanya, or is it just going to make it worse? She might just be too raw for it to do any good. But hopefully to the Adams and the others, would it be helpful? So, but I figured we'd vet it internally first, and then, and it's just a sincere apology and trying to explain the difference between RPG research and RPG therapy's goals, and how that it's many different things, and it isn't just me. They have the illusion that everything is here in Spokane. They're like, no, only about half of us are in Spokane. So there's a lot of misunderstanding on their part, and that's my fault for not being effective at communicating that. So I just take that on and hopefully make amends. We'll see what happens. Because, yeah, I really want us to be connected as a community. So.
I think as long as we say, especially for RPG research, our focus is on community and inclusivity.
Yeah.
To be operating counter to that was not
exactly. And when I refer stuff to them, not just the LLC. It's whoever is appropriate to refer it to. But I don't think they understand that. And I don't know if the video will fix it or make it worse or just be, they'll just feel like I'm being defensive. I don't know. I hope they just accept it as me sincerely going, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to do that. Let's see if we can patch this up. And I hope it comes across that way. So I'll get Katie sent an email saying that there are a few edits that needed to be made. So I'll find out what she suggests. And then after I make those edits, I'll fire it by you and then John and Danielle, and before I fire it to them, since it could have an impact on the organization, it's important I include your guys' decision on that. Yeah. Okay. Anything? What was the other thing you wanted to cover? So like.
Prep for the board meeting.
Yeah.
I started the quarter one agenda.
Okay.
If it stays well or if you got to look at it, but.
Okay. Q1 2019 board meeting. I see it. Okay. Good. No, that's totally, I like just accurate. Okay, goal check-in, review, priorities for previous meetings. All right, finances. Okay, Danielle and I went through that. We got our taxes filed yesterday, so that's taken care of. Really easy. As long as we stay below $50,000 a year, it's just really easy. We don't have to, all we report is that it was $50,000 or less, and then on the excise tax for the state, we just report no business because as long as we're not selling any goods, that's why I keep holding off on selling T-shirts and stuff like that, because the overhead of selling anything eats us alive. We're better off just not selling anything. We're better off giving away stuff than trying to sell stuff to raise money. But we raised over $3,000 last year, so we went from nothing to over 3,000. It's, again, far compared to how our volunteer base is growing, it's far below what we were hoping. But hopefully with our efforts and Ben's efforts and revising the site yet again, and as our infrastructure is getting fixed and our new volunteers come on board, hopefully that will get a lot better. Boy, if we can just get Brianne going here, I think we'll really do a lot better. Yeah. Let's see. Operational volunteer update. Okay, good. Infrastructure systems. Good. Okay. Heroes of the Mist continue or not? Good. Drop it and play. New locations. Good. Program partners. Right. Yeah. So let me put a quick list there. Shriners, question mark. Valley, I always forget the name of this place. Let's see, Spokane Valley Long-Term Care. It is called, where is it? Sullivan Park. Do you know that? Oh, okay. Because that seems like a big complex of services. I think that would be a great place for us to do our Saturday drop in an RPG for a variety of people. I want our volunteers to get exposed to more than just kids. Yeah. It's tricky with older adults because after about 60, 70 years old, role-playing gaming has no appeal to them unless they were a gamer. The oldest gamer I've run so far is 82 years old. But most of them, it kind of cuts off about 60 right now. But they're going to be there very soon. Gamers are starting to age into there. John's 50 and I'm 48, and so we're still 10, 15 years away from that. But others that game, like I was GMing players who were 50 back when I was 13, so they're out there. But these facilities have no idea how to accommodate a role-playing game at their place. And according to a survey of social workers and nurses, 80% of social workers and nurses think that role-playing games are harmful to people. So they often don't allow these things at the facilities. So this would be a good one to get some variety for our volunteers, show that we're varied. We have the Spark Central thing. We have the library. I wanted this to be different. Shriners is an easy one, but it's kind of more of the same. I mean, it's a great organization. If the Sullivan Park or something similar doesn't work out, then I would see if Shriners is interested. And it's going to depend on scheduling, availability, interest, etc. But these are what I have in the current thinking.
Can you put Wolfpack in there?
Wolfpack?
Yes.
What's that?
Is a group, like a club for adults with developmental disabilities.
Oh, great.
So they do like video prom, they go bowling.
Okay.
Sports team.
I didn't know about that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's hard to find if you Google it. So
Yeah, because that's a really broad word.
Well, not only that, but it's run through like some other programs. We don't have like their own page, but it's a thing that's out there, and so I've known some people who have, like, I've met some clients who have gone to prom and they competed in like the bowling team, and they went to the Special Olympics, so they can pay a little bit a month, I think, to be a part of the Wolfpack.
Okay.
So they're pretty invested in participating, like the
All right.
are.
Yeah, if you can find any site resources that I can look at, because you're right, it's hard to look them up. If you can find that and send it to me, I'll gladly check them out. RPG League, we'll have to talk about RPG Dots, good. I guess we can add in here convo with Ben at ZOE about marketing and overhauling Patreon. Oh, that was the other one. Patreon goals and rewards. That's a big one we need to overhaul. Because it's...
Move that up to the fundraising.
Yes. Let's see. I see financial review. I don't see fundraising. Oh, fundraiser focus. Okay. There it is. Okay. Let's once or twice per year special fundraising event / marathon, telethon, whatever is another idea we're considering. What's that? Yeah, streamathon, maybe we could call it that. That works.
Not important, but
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like it. Telethon is a little passé. That is kind of 20th century, I know. What else is critical? Yeah, talk about infrastructure. That's going to be a lot. Just these little bullet lists are going to be a lot of info. Did we mention I think you had on there the additional programs. Okay, new locations. Yeah, so do we have our current schedule of everything we do on there?
not on the agenda.
Okay, so I'm going to put that under, I guess, operational or programs. Would that be programs? What's that?
Yeah, program.
Okay. So let's start it with current list of all programs we run now. Because it's grown since even just last quarter. Oh my goodness, has it grown. Our current, we should have a separate section, or I guess it'd be under programs for research.
We could do research on a phone, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, let's do that. So, research status. So, staffing, routine content generation, monthly blogs, and twice per year essays. Let's see, monthly blogs, twice per year essays, and annual research focus this year is incarcerated. And that also touches on documentary. Okay. All right. I think that's. Unless you think of anything else, I mean, we can get rid of the lorem ipsum stuff.
Yeah. No, we have to chant that at
Lorem ipsum dolor meta. We're not a cult at all. No.
See, now that folks got it right, you just want to be a cult leader.
Exactly. Right. There we go. My dad already was. Why not? My dad has his own religion. He's had it since the 70s. He literally leads. He had 186 IQ, spoke a dozen languages, has a master's in English from Oxford and a PhD in psychology and hypnotherapy. And he had people sign their property over to his church, and then he sold their property, and then he impregnated his followers' wives. Piece of work. He is now in a facility. He just got, about a week ago, he stumbled into the police station. He's developed dementia, really bad. He's 89 and has really bad dementia now. And anyway, they put him in a care facility, and I warned them that he was a molestation or violence risk. Apparently, they didn't listen to me, because he wakes up disoriented, thinking that the police or the military police are after him and stuff. So apparently he assaulted some other elderly people and was choking somebody out. So they've sent him off for a psych eval. I tried to warn them, and I don't have anything to do with my dad really anymore. A long time. It's his youngest sons that are doing that. But I was just like, oh, that's so scary. Because he's losing his mind. He was not, he had a lot of issues to begin with. But when you lose your mind like that, it's like, what can you do? And it's kind of scary. And I'm trying to find out if it's Alzheimer's or not, because if it is, there's a high hereditary risk there, and I better know about that. And all my sleep deprivation isn't going to help no matter what, either way. Anyway, so that was fun this last week with him. All right. And apparently my youngest son he was out running and got hit by a car in Bellingham and knocked out and taken to a hospital, and he didn't call and tell either of his parents. I just found out today. And that happened last week. It's just like, son, I know you're 19, but you tell your parents these things as soon as you're able. You let us know you're okay, and you tell us. I had to find out through his older brother that he works for. It's like, what? But he finally called today and let me know. I was just like, oh, the joys of parenting. All right. Well, there will probably be others. Can you fire this by John and Danielle and see if they have anything they want to add to it? They're usually pretty good about adding additional things. And then we'll go with that. And you're going to be here in person, right? So I got to get the TV room set up because there's not enough room in the studio for everybody. I'll try to get the TV room cleaned up and comfortable with all the couches and chairs so that we can accommodate. Because hopefully we'll have a big show. And I've got to have it so people can remote in as well. So I got to get that ready before the meeting. All right. Well, anything else you can think of?
No, that covers it for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Brooke, for everything. And I hope it's not overloading you with everything else you're dealing with.
No, sorry. I'm just at this point working somewhat more than 40 hours, and then I'm also working hard to find a new job.
Are you? It's not working out? No.
So.
I'm sorry.
Energy stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of a soul killer, so that's why it's like.
I'm
hard.
sorry. I wish if we could ever get to the right level of donations and stuff here, I would love to turn what you're doing into a paid gig so that you could do that. Cause
I wish too, but I'm like, man. But I was also reading an article about grants, especially for startup nonprofits, and how it normally takes like 2 years to start receiving grants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they don't want to fund.
Oh, if you're just going to implode.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, well,
I was like, oh, okay,
That makes sense. We'll stick around. I'm in it. We're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And we're doing okay. I mean, we've got over 2,000 in the bank. We brought in over 3,000. Our costs are very low because I've been covering all of them. But so operationally, we're not booming on the money, but we look good. So it's being managed safely. All right. Well, take care, and I will see you tomorrow.
Alrighty, see ya.
See ya.